Hey there, church. Yeah, that's right. The Reeves family still has not taken the Christmas tree down, but as you can see, the ornaments are off, and the next day or two, we'll have one of the kids throw it off the deck and haul it into the woods to make a shelter for some little woodland creatures. I understand that other families still have their Christmas trees up too because they haven't had Christmas the way COVID has come through. I know it derailed some family Christmases, and so for some people, that's happening this weekend. Christmas is a season that we move on from in order to share in the glory that appeared among us in Jesus. That is the theme of Epiphany, which means manifestation or appearing. God has appeared among us in flesh, and we have beheld his glory, as the Gospel of John says. And in my experience of the new year, sometimes that feels like something of a pause. We've been full of lots of activity going into Christmas. The new year comes around with church. We're in between the seasons of Christmas, Epiphany, and then Lent, which this year will begin on March 2nd. And so, yeah, we're continuing on with activities like the grandparenting group, and of course the food pantry, and the book club. The Renovare book club met last night, and so yeah, church life continues. But there is something of a pause as we simply bask in the goodness of God come among us in Jesus. But I do want you to know about some Lent programming that is going on this year. For Lent, we're going to get into a book called Liturgy of the Ordinary by an author named Tish Harrison Warren. It's a way of engaging life informed by the worship that we offer week in and week out. You know, our daily lives have something of a liturgy, and mine includes getting up early and having coffee and praying and getting the kids to school and walking Strider, and all of that happens before I launch into work at something like 8:30 every morning. And it's easy to get into these routines and just kind of do them without thinking about how they are related to the depth of life that God gives us in Jesus. For example, my walk with Strider is always a little bit frustrating for me and maybe for him because it comes right before I get into my work for the day. And so on my walk, a lot of the time, I think about the things that I need to do. Maybe if I feel time pressed, I want the walk to end a little faster. And Strider, being the good dog that he is, has no concept of time. And he is always more ready to sniff the ground and stop and rest for a little bit at the recycle park on 306, or linger when he meets a friend on the trail. He's more ready to pause and just be in the moment than I am. And so in the liturgical flow of my day, when I'm on my game, which I'm not always, my walk with Strider encourages me just to pause and be where I am, to live with my feet on the ground, to see what I see and smell what I smell, and just be in the present moment, which, don't we know, can be such a hard thing for us to do, but is so necessary for living fully alive and receiving God and the gifts that God gives. So for the season of Lent, we're going to get into this book, Liturgy of the Ordinary, and ask how our everyday lives are full of all kinds of ways that God is instructing us, God is meeting us, God is forming us. Not simply in the worship service, where all of that does happen, but especially day-to-day life. Even the stuff we might not really like in it is opportunity to receive God's gifts and learn something more about what it means to live a Jesus-centered life. So let's continue in that life, not just looking forward to Lent, but really basking in the loving presence of God day in and day out as we make our way there. Loving God, sharing relationships, serving others from the heart of Christ.